What is up, my friends? You are back here on Brockway's Vinyl Bites. It is a Saturday afternoon. It's a rather rainy one here in Southern Ontario, but hey, we're all sunshine and smiles here on the panel today. We are talking about Queen, and we ask the eternal question if they are indeed the best band ever. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go around the horn, and each one of us is going to give our top 10 Queen songs, and at the end, we'll come to the conclusion of if they are indeed the best band ever or not. Now, we have a new face here. You guys recognize Uncle Steve. You guys recognize Scott Davis. You know Matt Brown, and you know Martin Popoff. But we got Tom Curlis from Curlis Mania in the house. What's up, Tom?
What's up? How you doing, Cody? Thanks for having me today. Appreciate it. This is going to be a fun topic.
Absolutely. What do you got going on over on your channel there, Tom?
I do a lot of album battles on my channel, and the most recent one I did was Steve Hackett. I did Spectral Mornings versus Defector, and that's my most recent one. So I do a lot of like battles of albums with the same artist, and you just pick one kind of thing. And actually, the most recent one I did was with you, so that's upcoming. That's coming up. I think Monday night it's going to premiere. So, and that's Deep Purple Burn versus Stormbringer. So
yeah, you already know which one wins there.
That one wasn't that much of a battle, to be honest with you, for me. But
yeah, I know. That was kind of an easier one, right? It's like, well, the two albums from the exact same period of the band. Yeah. And we got Mr. Martin Popoff in the house. How's it going, Martin?
Oh, pretty good. Looking forward to this. Definitely.
You're working on
love my Queen. So excellent.
Absolutely. I mean, you love Queen so much. You've written books about them, and you still got more coming out. So tell us about those.
And I love the actual Queen of England. God save the Queen. I love the monarchy, and I'm a big royalist, so I'm good with that too. So, no books coming out. Van Halen at 40 is the newest. Led Zeppelin, a visual biography. We had two of these panel books, like my old Queen book from 10 years ago or whenever it was, where I got Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney. I interviewed about Queen in this book. But we did a panel book on Thin Lizzy, and we did one on Robert Plant recently as well. And I'll have a new Queen book next week called Queen Live.
Man, you interviewed Paul McCartney, man. My hat's off to you, man. That's amazing. To have met a Beatle, that is so cool, man. So yeah, go check out Martin Popoff's books if you haven't already. Martin, what's your website that we can purchase them off of?
martinpopoff.com. There's PayPal buttons there for everything. I sign them all, send them out from my office here in Toronto. And yeah, anything that's in print is there. So there's maybe 80 or 90 in print. It's all in a big, long chronological order. martinpopoff.com.
Right on. Awesome. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of your books, man. I just love what you do. And so, yeah, keep the goods coming, man, because I dig it. And many others do, too.
Right. Well, we're all dying off. A lot of these bands I write about, the old books don't sell anymore. It's kind of concerning how, it's up to us to keep this music alive. So.
And, of course, we should mention our good friend Scott Davis. We've got Scott Davis from Myth of Logic in the house. Myth of Logic is just a great band. I've got both their CDs, not at arm's length right now, but he's got a new one coming out in September of this year. And Scott, tell us quick before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's video, how did Queen influence the music of Myth of Logic?
Oh man,
good question.
Just mostly, I mean, there are more direct influences musically than Queen, although there is a song on the new record called Purple Heart that is a definite Queen influence. That'll be out in September. I think Queen filters itself into my own work mainly just as in the desire to strive for perfection as close as you can. Or just excellence anyway, because perfection and excellence aren't necessarily hand in hand. They just, a word that I use a lot on these shows is care. They took great care in making those records, and that's something that I try very hard to exercise in Myth of Logic, is that level of attention and care. And we'll get into that as we go. I'm sure all of us will chat about something like that at length.
For sure. Well, and of course, Matt and Steve, both DJs over on Deep Nuggets Radio, so you can catch them every Tuesday night. Steve starts at 5 p.m. Eastern, and Matt comes on right after him, goes all the way to midnight.
That would be 6 p.m. Eastern.
6 p.m. Eastern. Sorry about that. Yes.
That's all right.
You come on at 6. Matt comes on at 9, and it does run until about midnight. So that's a solid 6 hours of music. I'm there every Tuesday. Love hearing what you guys playing. So I expect, or I kind of expect that the next show will have some Queen in it now.
There's a good chance of that. There's a
good chance of that. All right, so Uncle Steve is going to start us off with his top 10 favorite Queen songs.
All right. Queen, a band that is close to my heart. Love Freddie Mercury, love Brian May. The whole gang. First, I want to give real quick honorable mention because it almost made the top 10, and that would be Seven Seas of Rye.
Oh yeah,
that was originally done as an instrumental on the first album, and then they reworked it and released it on Queen 2. The song was written by Freddie, so honorable mention to that. Number 10. You Take My Breath Away from A Day at the Races.
Oh, I was wondering if someone else was going to mention that song.
Yeah, Freddie wrote that song. He did like a triple tracking his vocals to give a more richness to it. Yeah, there it is. Martin's got the album up, and the echo with the Take My Breath Away lyric was just so cool, and that's why I that was made the top 10. All right, number 9, Princes of the Universe.
Oh, good.
Kind of Magic.
Yep.
I just love that song, and obviously the song was written for the movie Highlander, and it was used as the opening track for the movie. All right, we're going to go real quick because I know we're on a time limit. So number 8, Stone Cold Crazy.
But the Metallica version, do you like the Metallica version?
I'll get to that. The album, the song comes off the Sheer Heart Attack album, and it was covered by Metallica, who actually won a Grammy for that song.
Wow, I didn't actually know that.
Yep, that's true. I've got that noted here too.
All right, number 7, Crazy Little Thing Called Love.
Okay.
From The Game. It was originally written as a tribute to Elvis. The song wasn't really about Elvis, but it was done in a rockabilly style.
Yeah.
So, cool song, really snappy tune. Number 6, Death on Two Legs from A Night at the Opera, written by Mercury. And the song was about a fallout with their original band manager and owner of Trident Studios, who ended up suing Queen for the song. Just little backstory on it, but it's a great song. Just love that song.
Me too.
Okay, number 5, Who Wants to Live Forever? Night at the Opera. I'm sorry, From a Kind of Magic. I'm sorry, written by Brian May. This is another song that was on the Highlander movie. Real great power ballad. Just love that song. Number 4, Made in Heaven.
Wow, good call.
This was the title track of the very last album. Was released posthumously to Freddie's passing, and Freddie wrote it and had originally put it out on his one and only solo album, but the band ended up reworking it and re-releasing it on that last album. All right, number 3. Of course, we always have to do this. Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
From Night at the Opera.
Of course.
Their signature song. Just a huge, great song. Probably one of the most proggiest songs of their entire catalog.
It's like Close to the Edge in 5.5 minutes.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Okay, number 2 and number 1, they go back and forth for me. It just depends on my mood. But my mood right now is number 2, The Show Must Go On from Innuendo.
Nice.
Written by Brian May, and the song's about Freddie's struggles with AIDS, and just love that song. Love Freddie's vocals on that. Just so cool.
He was leaving it all out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the best vocal performances. And you think of how sick he was. That is one of the best vocal performances that Fred probably ever did on record.
Absolutely.
It's astonishing.
Yeah, that performance gives me shivers for sure.
Yeah. And number 1, pretty sad song, but I love the song. These Are the Days of Our Lives.
Oh, yeah.
Nice pull.
Actually, Roger Taylor, their drummer, wrote that song, and that was on the Innuendo album.
Yeah.
And
great album.
Great. I just love that album. It was also, when they did it for the video, that was the last video you saw of Freddie, and that was done like shortly before he passed away. Roger originally wrote it about his children and about parenthood and how he would look back on his own life, through his kids. But it obviously just turned into, Freddie's song.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
These two, like I said, number 1 and number 2 go back and forth for me. But at this time, These Days of Our Lives is probably my favorite song. Just love the song.
Yeah. Wow. Me too.
Nice pull.
And that's it for me. I hope I didn't
take
too long on it.
Great list, man. Great list. I
Thanks.
wonder how I'm going to follow that up, but we're going to leave that up to Scott for now. So, Scott, I know you've got a wicked list. You sent it to me. I didn't look through all of it just because I want to keep the element of surprise. So I only know 1 or 2 things that I saw that you put on, but I can't wait to hear the rest of it.
Well, a few words about the band. They were just such maybe after the Beatles, the primary example of the power of great songwriting. Combined with a powerful melodic delivery system in everybody in that band, just so focused, everyone in the band. They were advanced right from the start. When you listen to their first few records, it was clear they were working with technology that could not handle what they wanted to do. And it's like 3 or 4 albums in before you finally go, okay, now they're working with people who understand them and technologies, etc.
Yeah. Sure.
My Queen journey began when I heard Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio, and I bought the 45 in a day when I used to walk up to Richmond Gordman in Topeka, Kansas, where we were living, and I could buy singles for 83 cents. And I bought that with my own money. And that was my first exposure to Queen. I did get to see them once with Freddie.
Oh,
yeah, you're a lucky one. I never got to see them.
August 7th, 1982, Riverfront Coliseum with Billy Squier opening the show.
All right.
Wow.
It was an awesome show on every level. Roger destroyed his drums at the end, and I'm told that is a sign that Roger's in a really good mood if he gets to the end of his show and destroys his drum set. So I've got that. Anyway,
Scott, was that the Hot Space tour?
That was 82. Yeah. Yes, that was Hot Space. Yeah. They did quite a bit off that record too. And it, like so many of their other songs, a lot of those songs just sounded better live. There are certain of their songs like Now I'm Here, for instance. The studio version of that is very kind of sanitized, but you hear them play it live and they just deliver it. Brighton Rock is another great song that when played live by that band just came to life.
Absolutely.
All right, I got 4 honorable mentions here. I applied a unique parameter to this because I am a true Queen nut. And so what I
You're in
did
good
was
company, man.
I went to the original release of their greatest hits in the UK version, and I eliminated all of those songs from my list.
Wow.
So
Okay.
everything on here is what I would call maybe an album track or a deep pull. 4 honorable mentions. At number 14, You Take My Breath Away. Stunning. Absolutely stunning song. Vocal performance, recording, everything. That was their first album without Roy Thomas Baker, and they really delivered. At 13, One Vision. I love that song.
Yeah,
I absolutely adore it. It's ballsy and it's powerful. And again, when they played it live, it was even better. Number 12, Sheer Heart Attack. Oddly from News of the World. Yeah, I love that song too. Number 11, almost made the top 10. Bring Back That Leroy Brown from Sheer Heart Attack.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love when
So
Queen
great.
would, I love when Queen would redefine what constitutes Queen almost on a song by song basis. And that's one of those songs where you listen to it and they were clearly having a blast. Okay. At number 10, from Jazz, released November 10th, 1978. Let Me Entertain You.
Nice one.
Yeah.
I love this song. I love it. It's Mercury at his finest. And another song, again, when played live, a lot of the Live Killers versions of these songs I'm going to talk about are superior. They just have more nuts and more, when that band hit the stage, they were there. They were in that moment. They were with everyone in the room, and the songs really reflected that. Number 9, from News of the World, written by John Deacon, Spread Your Wings.
Oh,
Released November 10, 1978.
yeah.
October 28th, 1977. That's News of the World. Lovely song. Absolutely lovely song. I forget that John wrote that. I've heard it so many times, and Freddie delivers it in such a convincing fashion. He makes you feel it like it was his song, but John wrote it, and it's wonderful. At number 8, Good Company.
Oh,
From
yeah.
Night at the Opera. Released November 28th, 1975. This is stunning. This is Brian May at his absolute most wonderful. You heard me talk about care earlier, taking care to make those records that are so finely sculpted and dialed in and everything in its place. Good Company is astonishing for that, all that sort of jazz Dixieland stuff that he does with his guitar and a little battery powered amp and bunches of microphone techniques, and Good Company. I love that one. Number 8. At number 7, 39, another Brian May tune off Night at the Opera.
Nice pick.
Absolutely wonderful song. The lyrics are they take you on a journey. It's a nice little story. Again, production value so high on this. They had really mastered that art of manipulating the studio to their own ends. And 39, listened to on headphones, it's still astonishing. This is a song that was released November 28th, 1975, and it still sounds vibrant and fresh. And
I love the guitar work on that song.
It's astonishing. Yeah. Okay, now we're going back in time here. Number 6, from Queen 2, released March 8th, 1974, Ogre Battle. This was my first Queen album, was Queen 2, and Ogre Battle is Queen at their absolute bludgeony, Zeppelin-ish violence. I love that song. I love everything about it. The vocal has a sneer, and it's not recorded quite as well as some of the later records, but it just got such a energy to it. I mean, they were great at capturing that on their performances on record, and I still love Ogre Battle. Number 5, released March 8th, 1974, also from Queen 2, The March of the Black Queen. Also another that sort of arrogant pomposity, but with a smile and a wink that Queen were so good at. They just, there are bands that are a style. AC/DC is a style. If you try and sound like them, you'll sound ridiculous. Queen is a style. It's not just a band. Queen is a style. There are a variety of things that fall into what made that band, and it all equates with a singularity when those four individuals came together that just astounds me. When you look at the abilities of each one and their unique skill sets and how those very interesting chemical combinations came together to create the band, each band member, I mean, obviously Freddie's going to get the attention because he's the singer, and Brian's going to get attention because he wrote a lot of the songs, played guitar, sang a bit. But John Deacon, my God.
Yeah.
Excellent songwriter, fabulous bass player. Yeah. He had the exact right tone for this band. If you've got Brian May over there, louder than a bull elephant, and you're trying to have Chris Squire's bass tone, you're going to be very disappointed. So John had this warm, full, buttery punch to his sound that was just wonderful. And there's Roger Taylor back there just slamming away. Roger did something. Now, if you're a drummer, and you are, Cody, Roger would choke his hi-hat along with snare hits.
Yeah.
Very few drummers do that. And when you hear him, you can definitely tell. Anyway, I'm up to number 4. This is a grouping off of Night at the Opera that have to be listened to as one piece. Death on Two Legs, Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon, and I'm in Love with My Car. I've always seen those songs as one kind of suite together. So that's why I've grouped them that way. At number 3, released October 28th, 1977, from News of the World, It's Late by Brian May. Such a great song. Wonderful sound. The drum sound is sick and wrong and just huge and full. And everything about that song is wonderful. Freddie's vocal is, I mean, anyone who ever thought that Freddie was a certain type of vocalist and couldn't be, hard-edged and bluesy needs to listen to It's Late, because he just leaves it on the stage with that one. I love it. Number 2, from Day at the Races, released December 10th, 1976, Tie Your Mother Down. I will never not want to listen to this song again, particularly the various live versions of it. The studio version is great, but their live delivery of their great songs was always stupendous. And then for me at number 1, again from Night of the Opera, The Prophet Song and Love of My Life. I have to listen to those two pieces together because they dovetail perfectly. Now, Love of My Life is such an experience live, particularly if you've ever watched their performance of it in Rio, where there was like 250,000 people singing it. That's one thing, but the studio version of that song is so delicate and so powerful, and Brian sings the initial parts of it, unlike Freddie singing it live, and coming out of the Prophet Song, the Prophet Song is again Queen at their best, their chest thrown out and just all shall love me in despair, that kind of thing. I mean, that they excelled in those areas. I loved that about them, their fearless nature in all things, where their music was concerned. So for me, number 1, The Prophet Song and Love of My Life together. And it's kind of funny because later on in their career, you had We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions shoved together for radio. And then you had Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle Race, which were not consecutive tracks on the album, but they had been doing that from the beginning, where they would, sort of Abbey Road style, chain songs together with the intent that obviously, or at least obviously to me, they should be listened to together. So
absolutely,
and that's my list, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, great list, man. Great list. Absolutely. I know that some of those are gonna appear in a list later on.
Okay. Like I said, the greatest hits are not on my list because everybody knows all those songs are great. So.
Maybe some of those songs might be on Matt Brown's list. Hey, Matt, what do you got for us, brother?
The possibility of that is quite high. Just say that. Well, I got into pretty young. I mean, when my first foray really into getting into music was when I was about 7 years old, and it was 1977, and I got my first transistor radio and used to listen to it all the time. And back then, disco was the rage, but Queen was hugely popular, and they had, especially in America, they had all these big hits, right? Post Bohemian Rhapsody, it's like everything they did at least made it to the top 40 for a while there. And I remember We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions was one of the first things that I remember hearing as a young kid, and started buying their singles and buying their records and stuff. So I go back with them a long way. What's really interesting now as, you know, a 50-something musician is that up till recently, I'd been playing keyboards in a Queen tribute band out here that does nationwide touring. They're called the Kings of Queen. They're based in Orange County, and I had been one of their keyboard players, and I still am. I'm also now one of their drummers.
Oh, yes, I knew that.
So, and this is all kind of a more recent development. So, the drummer that had to step down from the band is a wonderful guy and a great player. So, some pretty big shoes to fill, you know? But
yeah, absolutely.
It's been a lot of fun. And he was the guy I was studying the most when I was first getting involved with this band anyway. So that probably helped, you know, knowing the flow of the set and all of that. But anyway, I've been into Queen for a really long time. So really hard to narrow it down to 10 songs. And I tried to leave out the big hits, and I was a little bit successful, but not completely. Fine. So here's my list, and these aren't necessarily in a rank order per se, because the order changes.
Yeah, you can't rank these tunes. It's just impossible.
The order pretty much changes all the time, but the 10 that usually find their way into my cranium are the following. Number 10, Long Away from great Brian May song that I think I first got turned on to because Jim Ladd from KLOS was playing it in his thematic sets on his show. And it's like, oh, I missed that song. That's a good one. You know, really beautiful tune. And I'm a big Brian May fan anyway. As much as I love Freddie, I'm a big Brian May guy. So you'll see a few of his songs in this list. Number 9, Save Me from The Game.
Okay.
Adore that song. The way that it starts out real gentle with the piano and the vocal, and it builds, and it's just got a very anthemic, passionate, powerful thing to it. So that had to be in there somewhere. Number 9. Number 8, Who Wants to Live Forever? Kind of Magic, as was mentioned by Steve. That's just I remember seeing the Highlander movie as a teenager and hearing Queen music go, oh, that's pretty cool. And then they're doing some more soundtrack stuff. And but lovely song. And that's actually one of our favorite songs to perform in the band.
I bet.
Where it starts to get really hard. Number 7, Dragon Attack from The Game.
Oh, that almost went on mine too.
It's got such an undeniable groove, just propulsion, you know, and really just a fun song all the way around.
Absolutely.
That's in there for sure. Deacon
is the man.
Yeah. Big. Okay. Number 6. It's like picking children. Now I'm here from Sheer Heart Attack. But as Scott previously mentioned, that live version they've done obviously there's quite a few available for people to check out, but the Live Killers version was definitely the one that made me go, oh, check this out, you know.
On.
Oh, so good. Okay, number 5, 39 from Night at the Opera, another Brian May piece of music. Lovely song. And I love the sci-fi story in it, you know, that basically it takes place over the course of 100 years. It's an interesting story. Yeah. So Brian, you know.
Absolutely.
Just wonderful. Okay, number 4, another Brian May song that hasn't been mentioned yet, Sleeping on the Sidewalk.
Yep.
World. I love the groove of it. It's like you don't hear them do any. It's like one of their only blues songs, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it sounds like Cream. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the story, the kind of rags to riches, back to rags story. It's cool, it's fun, you know. It's like, oh, I didn't expect that was a left turn I wasn't expecting, you know.
For sure.
So that was number 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Number 3, Spread Your Wings.
Oh,
I adore Spread Your Wings, and I love it when it occasionally gets put into our live sets. It's such a powerful song to play and listen to, and it's just, I love it. I love everything about it. Number 2, Innuendo, title cut from the 1991.
Oh, Mr. Steve Howe features on that one.
Yeah, as it so happens,
Yeah.
he does a little cameo on that on the acoustic on nylon string guitar. But to me, that song was sort of like a latter day epic masterpiece for them. Like they conjured up so many of the things that made them big in the 70s and even into the 80s too. And just, here you go, 6.5 minutes encapsulated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just like the other songs on that record, the vocal performances on that song are so impassioned on the whole record, really. But, you know, the songs that I mentioned earlier have That Show Must Go On and Days of Our Lives. But this one too, what a vocal performance. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
And number 1 is, and I realize I've left out a lot of amazing songs now that I'm saying all this, but that's how it goes when it's Queen, you know?
Absolutely.
Number 1 is It's Late from News of the World.
Okay.
As you can tell, I'm a big fan of that record.
Yeah.
And It's Late, it's another, 6.5 minute. It was a single, although it didn't do all that well. I think it may have in the top 50 or so. I don't know if it made it to the top 40. I can't remember, but just a tremendous song all the way around. And the energy of it, especially in the middle section at the end when they really get going, and it's just full of passion and full of fire, and I love that. And
like that vinyl.
And it occurs to me, having said all of this, each of us picking 10, and obviously there's overlap, but it just shows how multifaceted the band was, how they would go in all these different directions, and they really didn't have any kind of rules. It didn't seem like, other than that someone felt like they needed to do it. All right, well, let's do it. It's like
Absolutely.
Nothing was really verboten when it came to Queen. They could basically do anything they wanted.
Scott, I want to say I'm sorry. I had missed that you had put some of the pictures in the bottom in the studio there.
I wanted to get through it more quickly. I didn't want to give you anything. Yeah, they were just the album covers. That's all right.
Sorry, I know. I saw that you did it at first, and then I just forgot about them, and I'm sorry.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
So Matt, that's a great list, and I love to see the love for "It's Late" because that, to me, has always been such an underrated Queen song, and I think you're going to see it mentioned in a little while. Yeah, let's put up a little. Let's put up this for Myth of Logic. This is a really good album, folks. Go to Bandcamp and pick up a copy of this, Surrounded by Ghosts, because it is just fantastic. If you like this music that we're always talking about here, Myth of Logic will most likely be up your alley for sure. And Mr. Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility actually reviewed this album. Or no, he reviewed the newest one, but he reviewed Myth of Logic. So if that doesn't tell you that it's good enough to be in your collection, then I don't know what to tell you. Great
Appreciate the plug.
Kudos.
Of course. And Matt, great list, my friend. Yeah, this is the one that Pete Pardo did here. Pictures from a previous stream.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
That's
I
the
saw
one
that.
that he.
Nice.
I was very gratified to see that he took the time to do that, and I think it was a fair review. And yeah, Pete's just a great guy, and it was wonderful of him to spend a few minutes on it. I appreciate it.
And Martin Popoff is on Sea of Tranquility every Friday morning, I believe, right, Martin?
Absolutely. 9 a.m. every morning, and then we go live with it usually around 11.
Right on. Yeah. So every Friday, go check that out. But right now, what you got to check out is Tom Curlis from Curlis Mania. He's going to give us the top 10 songs that he thinks make Queen possibly the best band ever. Maybe. Let's see what Tom's got to say. What do you got to say, Tom?
All right. Thanks, Cody. Yeah, no, I've been with Queen guy since I was a wee lad, man. My first record I ever bought You know, my dad used to say, hey, you go out and do some chores. You know, I think I did like, you know, rake the lawn or something. And he knew that I was music crazy. So the biggest reward he could do for me would be like, hey, I'll take you to the record store and I'll buy you a couple albums. And I was like, yes, like that was like my, oh yeah, that was rake the lawn in like record time, you know. And we went down to Summit, New Jersey, this place called Scotty's. And I bought one of the first albums I bought was Night at the Opera. And it was, I wore that thing out, man. I wore that album out. And I still love Queen. I feel like Queen's been with me my whole life. I still love Queen to this day, like with a passion. It's crazy. I mean, I remember looking at the pictures too. Like my sister's boyfriend had a poster of Queen on the wall. I think it may have been the Queen 2 or maybe inside of Queen 2. I can't remember. But I looking up at the poster, you're like, who are those guys, man? Those guys look so cool. Just the way they looked got you intrigued, you know? They were like pure rock stars, man. And,
iconic image right here.
Yeah, you get intrigued just by looking at the band, you know. And anyway, so let's get into it. First of all, trying to get down to 10 songs with Queen is just like virtually, it's like impossible. It's so hard, like everyone's saying. And but I'm just gonna go with I didn't think. I just like wrote it down. I didn't think it through. I just threw down songs that hit me right away. So, and there's no order. This is not importance order. No importance. I got a bunch of honorable mentions that I'm going to cheat and say at the very end. But so I'm going to start with number 10, which is Stone Cold Crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we've already talked. My list is like Scott said. I stayed away from the hits. I'm going deep tracks, and even though the hits are great songs as well, don't get me wrong. I'm just staying with songs that don't get talked about as much. And Stone Cold Crazy, the first time I heard this, I was like, wow. It's almost like the first time you heard Metallica. It's like, holy crap, what is this? This is like heavier than I've ever heard any band in my life. It's crazy. I mean, that and it's so tight. It's super fast and super tight. And you're like, oh my God, this is so, it still psychs me up to this day. I have to turn it up to 10 anytime I listen to it. And that whole like, and it just stops and it goes Stone Cold Crazy, you know, bing, ding, 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 bow. I was like, that is just so killer. Okay, number 9, Innuendo. Just the title track of the last record I call it the last album that they did together. And it's just like I think Matt was saying, it's like it's very regal. It starts out with that military drum beat. It's very it's huge. It's a big song, and Freddie's vocal, as was said, oh my God, Freddie's vocal on Innuendo, and Steve Howe does that like flamenco guitar in the middle. It's really, it goes all over the place. It's a great late classic from Queen.
Absolutely.
You know, number 8, Play the Game. I love the song Play the Game. Every time I hear that song, I sing every word from the game. It's just that start off, and my daughter loves that song too. So whenever we're in the car, we play that song and both of us sing like every word. It's just so great, you know.
That's amazing, man. I love that.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's great. And then number 7, Dead on Time from Jazz. That's another really heavy song. No one ever talks about this song. I love that track. That whole, you know, dead on time, ding, 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 dead on time. I mean, it just goes, it just rocks, and it's the whole time. And then with that lightning bolt at the end, yo, dead, man. It's like, I love that.
I love that too, man.
Oh my God, so great. All right, number 6, Fight from the Inside from News of the World. I'm a big Roger Taylor fan. I love his songwriting as well as his drumming. The guy is a killer drummer, but I love his songwriting too. And something about when he plays with Queen, it's just like his songs just get pushed to another level. So it's so great. And I love his voice too. I love Roger's voice.
Yeah.
Number 5, Tie Your Mother Down. This was already mentioned. This is such a killer track. I kind of went heavy. I kind of went a heavy Queen on this list. Tie Your Mother Down is so good. I mean, there's a video of them in 1977 doing like a sound check, and they're just sound checking, and they just sort of go right into Tie Your Mother Down, and it's so good. It's so tight, like right. They just fall into it. It's like, oh yeah, it's so great. Anyway, and I just love the lyrics. You know, Tie Your Mother Down, and you know, take your what is it?
Take your little brother swimming with a brick.
Yeah,
That's all right.
That's all right. It's awesome. I love it. Okay, number 4, Prophet Song from Night at the Opera. That is just such another epic. You know, people, can you hear me? That whole like middle section of Now I Know. That whole like total middle vocal section is so, when it just repeats and repeats, you just get so sucked into that. And it's just such a, and also just that, you know, Brian May killing it on that song too. I mean, the whole band. I mean, Queen, we already said this, but Queen is like a band where like the 4 members are magic. It's like Pink Floyd, like the classic Pink Floyd or the Beatles or whatever. Any band with the 4 members together just create magic. It just pushes everything up. And Prophet Song is like, no other band could do Prophet Song. It's Queen is like, you know, anyway.
Yeah, that's a hard one. All the vocals in that, that's a hard one. That's Queen. No one can be doing that. That's forget it. You know, it's Queen, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah, and the Roy Thomas Baker production is killer as well. The whole thing. Brighton Rock is number 3. I always loved Sheer Heart Attack is one of my all-time favorite Queen records, and Brighton Rock is just another Brian May tour de force. Just can't be denied. Number 2, Ogre Battle from Queen 2. This was already mentioned. So heavy. So I love how it starts that backwards. It starts backwards. I mean, who does this, right? It's like, you know, all of a sudden it's going backwards, and all of a sudden it goes forwards, and then it's like, it's so, oh my god.
If you really want to blow your mind, get access to some technology that will allow you to flip that and listen to that forwards, because it's the same. They played the same thing, but they played it in time with a recording of it forwards. It'll blow your mind. It'll really, you think your mind's been blown, listen to that and you go, whoa.
Wow.
It's nuts. It's nutty.
It's crazy. And then when you think your mind's been blown and all of a sudden it stops and they go, ah, ah, ah. It's like that whole like high vocal thing. You're like, oh my, where is this going? Right. And then number 1, Keep Yourself Alive. Again, this isn't in no order, but I love Keep Yourself Alive. That first song on the first album. And it really does kind of signal where the band is going to go, where you know, can't help it, Grant. Can't help it, man. But yeah, so Keep Yourself Alive. I love the you know, that, you know, with the May does it so well, that muted guitar thing. So good. And really great song, very catchy. So it's kind of the heavy and catchy, which Queen can do so well. Okay, so that's my 10. Let me quickly do some really fast. I'm going to cheat and do some you know, honorable mentions. That is One Vision, Show Must Go On, 39, Dragon Attack, Now I'm Here, Rocket, Prime Jive. And then I also love like some of those crazy songs like Leroy Brown's Seaside Rendezvous, all good old fashioned Lover Boy and Dreamer's Ball, things like that are like kind of goofy almost, but like they pull it off and they're so great. So I
love that you mentioned Seaside Rendezvous. Let's go romantic. Just wonderful. Yeah. Oh, great list, man. And great list so far. Honestly, y'all should give a pat on your back for having such amazing taste. And I know Martin has amazing taste as well, and so I'm super excited to hear what Mr. Martin Popoff is gonna pick. Now, Grant wants to know who you are.
He's heard of me. He's joking.
I know. We all know Grant's Rock Warehouse. Everyone knows him.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. What I did with my list is I basically said I am absolutely going to allow the hits because I want this to be a true list. And you know, as a corollary of that being a true list, it's also like what came to mind immediately. So that's a little bit of the Tom thing, where you mentioned like I'm just going to go with my heart sort of thing, right? So I'm going with my heart. I'm allowing deep cuts if they appear, but I'm allowing hits if they appear. And the way I always do these rankings is I open a Word doc. I just pop in I start at the beginning, of a catalog and go through the catalog and just pop songs up and down, up and down, up and down, and just look at it and go, I guess that's right. Right. I mean, I'm surprised that that's sitting at the bottom of my page. That's my number 1. Right. And the other thing I did is I realized I've always said this. And if we have this discussion about are they the greatest band ever, I feel like Queen and Judas Priest, I won't go too into it, but basically I think Queen, I lose confidence in Queen later on. So they're mortals as the 1980s start. And it basically turned out that when they become mortals, there's a ceiling there where there's so many great songs all over the place. I love a lot of those later songs, but there's a ceiling where I'm not trusting them enough to be geniuses. And if I think they do a really good song, I'm almost thinking it's a little bit of a happy mistake a little bit. And there's always something missing anyways. There's missing that genius magic from later on. So, and I've got some honorable mentions too. I'll go through real quick, I promise, when I do. But number 10, Now I'm Here. So starting with Sheer Heart Attack album, I like this for being a good, crunchy, sleazy, Rolling Stones, heavy Mott the Hoople kind of song, but it's proggy too. You get that really heavy Brian May sound in there as well. You get a lot of parts. It's that carnal, mid-rangey recording that you get on that album. So yeah, great song. Number 9, Under Pressure from Here. This is my newest track actually on here, and I just love the song to death. I don't care how famous it is, and yeah, I'm almost a little depressed that it's actually, we got to give David Bowie a lot of credit to it for it as well. But I mean, I think it's just a great, well put together song, such a great vocal performance as well.
Are you not a Bowie fan, Martin?
Oh, I'm a massive Bowie fan. It's just that it just feels like, it was recorded separately from the album and it's stuck on there, and it doesn't feel like an actual Queen album track.
Queen gets less credit.
Yeah, and it ticks me off that it's the best song on Hot Space probably by far, right? This is my favorite Queen album.
Good one.
This is really the only go deep that I have on my whole list, is because I love this album so much. So I'm going to go with More of That Jazz from Here, the last song on the album. I just love anytime Roger Taylor with that attitude that he has, and football's the only thing that gives us thrills. Rock and roll just pays the bills, all that kind of thing, right? and the sampling of all the songs throughout is so cool on it as well. It's just such a modern yet innovative song. It's almost like neo prog at that point, right? And all the songs on here, they knock off these ideas really, or these songs are all really short, so they squeeze a lot of ideas in. So it's really modern, fast, action-packed kind of thing. Next, I'm going with another big hit, Somebody to Love from Here.
Great.
I think again, it's just, I'm going with my heart. It's like what songs came to mind. It's just such a beautiful, well put together ballad, but it's heavy at the same time. It's just such a great melody. Everybody loves it. It's like a universal world love sort of song kind of thing. So that's my number 7. Number 6, Bohemian Rhapsody. I always call this the greatest song ever written by anybody of all time. Doesn't mean it's my favorite song of all time. And when I'm asked for my favorite songs of all time, it usually does come up, but it's usually down the list a little bit. But absolutely, it's just got so many cool, interesting parts. It really is, Scott, you mentioned about care, right? Them taking care, and the other great things you said about them, adjective wise. I mean, it's all wrapped up in this song. It doesn't have to be 11 minutes long or anything like that. They can squeeze their ideas into something much shorter and just take you on an incredible journey. So it almost feels like you have to have that on there, or you're lying to yourself, kind of thing. But then again, these are the lists of our favorites, right? But it's just, I feel like objectively, it's the greatest Queen song, because objectively, it's the greatest song by anybody. So number 5, I'm going with Liar from the debut. I just feel this is just a great heavy song. For 1973, for this band to be so Mensa mad and so amazingly genius is incredible. And we know they had to cheat to get there a little bit by having lots and lots of easy free studio time. But they managed it, and Liar is just such a great progressive rock symphony of amazingness, right? We say Rush invented progressive metal, and this band deserves a lot of credit as well.
Absolutely.
For
sure.
Metal. Number 4, a little bit of an odd choice. I'm going to go with Fat Bottom Girls from Here.
All right.
And again, I just love the way that this is a clinic in Queen, giving you sparseness, building a song up, just giving you singing over guitar, giving you just thumping bass drum, nothing much going on. Then the song builds and builds, it takes off, and it's just so powerful once it gets going. It's got the vaulted, beautiful, choral choir situation, right? The stacked vocals. It's got Roger Taylor's that amazing, just almost like Spinal Tap fill down the down the tabla like ploiky, loose head toms, right? Tuned toms. It's one of the greatest drum sounds of all time on that album. That's another reason I love it. I'm that and Genesis Abacab are probably my two favorite.
And it makes the rocking world go round.
Yeah, and it's just a fun song, but it's a heavy song and it's accessible, and it's just them doing that cool thing. AC/DC's good at this too, of just leading you slowly into the song, not like shooting off all the fireworks sort of all at once. And number 3, I'm going with Dead on Time from this album again, as Tom so eloquently explained. Just what a cool, heavy song, but again, it's heavy. Just like Let Me Entertain You, which is one of my honorable mentions. It's heavy, but it's in this sort of tight, frantic, anxiety, sort of, metro, downtown, urban sort of feel. It's tight, but it sounds like they're really close together playing kind of thing. So it's written heavy, but it's not produced. It's produced super innovatively, but it's not produced super heavily. And I just love that descending chorus with the dead on time, dead on time. And then also we get another Roger Taylor, dead on time. That thing's in there as well. And the ending, amazing. And again, short, to the point, just so much action in the song, right?
Absolutely.
Number 2, I'm going back to the debut for Keep Yourself Alive. Again, so we got side 1, track 1, and we've got side 2, track 1 with Liar. But Keep Yourself Alive, same kind of thing. Just so many amazing, great, heavy things happening in it. So innovative. I mean, this sounds like a band on their 10th album, on the first album. Like, it's so rare to hear a band this smart right out of the gate, right? And I remember us as kids, even though we were complete metalheads, we could tell. When you stack this up against anything Zeppelin was doing, even at the time, it's like, wow, it's like kindergarten versus, the PhDs and master levels guys. These guys were sort of thing. They're just like playing 3-dimensional chess versus any other band right away on their debut. It's super impressive for 73. And then number 1, I'm going with It's Late from News of the World. Same sort of thing. Matt, I think you were talking about It's Late, right?
Yeah, me too.
One of them.
Yep,
Yeah.
Scott did too.
Scott too, yeah. So same thing. I love the energy of it. I love how it's sort of like Fat Bottom Girls, just kind of grows into what it is. It's melodic, yet it's heavy at the same time. Yeah, a lot of energy. The performance on it, I think this is Queen, playing off of each other with the most chemistry they would ever have, I think, on this album. This to me is like Van Halen or The Who in terms of chemistry and the way the sounds all meld together kind of thing. So I love that about that album. And then very quickly, I've got 10 honorable mentions because I made this list, and I'll just go real quick. So number 20, Spread Your Wings. Number 19, Let Me Entertain You. 18, Don't Stop Me Now. So we're back to jazz again. Save Me. So I'm, that's a newer one. That's from The Game, but it Save Me always lined up with It's Late kind of thing. And another late one, but as late as I'll go, is The Hero off of Flash Gordon. What a great, heavy, the only song on it. It's that old Queen chemistry is all there. That sounds like a News of the World sort of track. Death on Two Legs. Love it to death as well. And, got to get these heavy ones in here as well. Did I mention Stone Cold Crazy? But 13 is Modern Times Rock and Roll, which I think I like more than Stone Cold Crazy. I just they really get to the point with that one.
Under 2 minutes.
And Play the Game. I'll go to The Game for Play the Game. We hated that song as kids, but as time goes on, I realize it's got a lot of power as you get moving into the song, just kind of like an It's Late or a Save Me. And number 11, Sheer Heart Attack, the super punky, crazy heavy one off of News of the World. So there you go. Those are
Great one. Great list. Now, I don't know how I'm going to follow all these. Better than coffee. Yeah, well, especially because I don't like coffee. So it is definitely much better than coffee to me personally. Yeah, great list, Martin. Great list, Tom, Matt. What do you got there, Matt?
I think the robot knows.
Oh, great list from
Do that
Scott.
sometime
I kind of did what Martin and Tom did, where I sat and I thought about it, and I didn't spend a whole lot of time making up the list. I was kind of like, you know what? And just thinking about it, going through some of the songs, going, yeah, I know where my headspace is at with this. And so I've made a great, I think it's a great list. And I got it saved in my phone here. So there's a really great mix of the hits and the deep cuts. I'm gonna say it's pretty well balanced for me. My honorable mentions that I have here is I Want It All from The Miracle, because I think that's a really good album. I know no one has mentioned anything from The Miracle, but I think, for Latter Day Queen, it's really good, really decent, breakthrough, great track. Honorable mentions also is Liar and One Vision. Number 10 is a song that I have seen is quite loved in this panel here is You Take My Breath Away at number 10. First time I ever heard that, it was just like, oh, man. Oh, geez.
It's astonishing. It really is astonishing. And that's coming from a guy who's does nothing but astonish.
Yeah. And just when you first hear that, or anytime you listen to it, and just that breathy, sort of beautiful vocal from Freddie Mercury, it really is chill-inducing. I got to say, it is just absolutely astounding.
That's why it made my list.
Number
it's really
9,
beautiful. It's so beautiful,
It is.
Agree. Number 9, Now I'm Here. Any of the versions. I love the studio version. I love the sound of the whole record. I love everything about Sheer Heart Attack. And one of its songs, it's kind of like a block of songs, but it's going to be my number 1 because I just love that record so much. Number 8 is, so only Martin has mentioned a song from this album. I didn't go for Under Pressure myself, although it is a great song. I went with Las Palabras de Amor.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Wow, deep.
It's
That is a deep
cut,
pull. Yeah.
but it shouldn't have been a deep cut. I always felt like it should have been some sort of single, but it never was. I love that song. I know I'm probably one of the few people who actually quite likes this record. That's okay. I'll stand by that. Las Palabras de Amor, beautiful vocals, beautiful melody lines throughout that song. Just gorgeous song. Don't touch me now. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my God. He could be singing the phone book, okay? And with that melody, it just works so well. He could literally be singing about contact numbers, right? And it just like, oh yeah, just sounds so good. Number 7, Tie Your Mother Down. What a way to introduce an album, especially coming off of A Night at the Opera. What a way to say, okay, here's the next record, especially because they had no clue how they were going to follow up the blockbuster that was the record previously, right? And they did it with a huge bang here.
And they did it without Roy Thomas Baker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they did. And next up for me,
just Mike Stone. Who's produced that album?
I can tell
it's
you
officially
in 2
self-produced, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mike Stone.
Day at the Races was produced by Queen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the only album they ever released that was only produced by Queen.
Well, there you go.
All right.
Next up for me is March of the Black Queen.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I could have picked this whole album, man. Queen 2 is just, how do you get better than that? I mean, just the songs, and Ogre Battle, which will make my honorable mentions because I did not put it on the top 10. But Ogre Battle and, of course, March of the Black Queen, which did come in at number 6. Although, like you guys have said, this is not a ranking. This is just a block of my favorite Queen tunes.
Yeah.
I think my number 1 and 2 are pretty solidified. Actually, my top 3 are pretty solidified the way they are. But going into number 5, Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, it's like I said earlier on, it is kind of like Close to the Edge in 6 minutes, but with an operatic take to it. this has been covered. I don't have to say, Wayne's World, man. Wayne's World. A little Night at the Opera, anyone? Pops in the tape, and they all just go for it, man. Great stuff. Number 4 is a huge hit song that is not Bicycle Race. It is Fat Bottom Girls. I like Fat Bottom Girls.
I do too.
The song and the real thing.
Me too.
And I, totally penned by Brian May, but it's like you guys said before, Fred sings it and makes it so impactful and so like he makes you feel like he wrote it, and we obviously know that he did not, but it is just a great song. And I just love it so much. And just his vocal performance in that is totally driving. It is menacing almost. Left alone with big fat hair. That's amazing. It's amazing. Oh, gosh. So, yeah.
He sings it with so much gusto,
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously, as a drummer, I have to mention the drum fill in the middle. Now, get this.
Yeah.
Great stuff. I remember hearing that as a kid and just going, wow. I didn't know what rototoms were yet, but that would come later in discovering Genesis and stuff, right? Rototoms galore. But hearing Roger Taylor do that fill with the rototoms going from the really high toms to the really low ones, driving around, my mom and I used to have the greatest hits CD, listen to that just every time that would come on. I'm like 8 years old, cranking it up like, oh, that is so cool. And I still do that now. There's no way that anytime this comes on in my truck, the volume doesn't just go to like max.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's like 3 mics on every tom.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's so
Number 3. Now we're heading into territory where any of these top 3 could be my number 1. It's late. It's late. It's I love it so much. I did a drum cover of it, and it's
a good one, a very good one.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's in there with my ELP and the Genesis and Rush and all that stuff. But thank you very much for that, Scott. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
It's Late, one of my favorite songs. Again, it is almost like a prog song where it's 6.5 minutes and it just goes through peaks and valleys, and it kind of takes you around the world in a day and then drops you off. It's just one of those songs, and it's heavy. And it's menacing, but it's beautiful and it's wonderful. It's bluesy. It's all this stuff, and I just love it. And this next song is an absolute life changer of a track. Of course, I'm pairing it up with Love of My Life. Prophet song and Love of My Life. The two of those together, I have a hard time separating them. But can you play Wipeout? Yes, I can. Prophet song, and I have the 5.1 surround sound mix of this on DVD, and so sitting in my space here where I have a very good surround sound system, I put that on, and the vocals in the middle of that travel all around the room. It is one of the coolest musical experiences I've ever had listening to a record.
Wow.
And it's right up there with listening to the Dolby Atmos mix of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Anyway, amazing. So that leaves to my number 1 is a song that I am shocked. I'm baffled that no one has picked. But it is okay. We get a 3-fer with Tenement Funster, Flick of the Wrist, and Lily of the Valley.
good call.
All right.
Yeah.
It is so good, I just can't.
Admit it. Admit it. It's the Dream Theater connection, right?
Well, I do love the Dream Theater cover of it as well. But I knew this long before the Dream Theater one.
Okay.
But you know what? No, there is something to be said about that, because I love the Dream Theater version of that, and hearing them do that, and especially hearing James's take on Lily of the Valley, it just reminded me of how much I love the song. And they do it so good.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the hardest songs to tackle, and they do it like it's no problem.
It's a very respectful cover. That's what I like about it. They did not finger paint all over those 3 songs. They covered them faithfully.
Oh, it sounds like Queen.
Mm-hmm. It does sound like
Dream Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just love it. Every time it gets to Lily of the Valley, I'm chill fest all over. I'm just it is just so good. So good. And Queen is just one of those bands that I don't know if we'll ever really see another one quite like them, because there was nothing like them before, and there's not really been anything like them after. It's kind of prog, but with a operatic, classical, heavy metal sensibility to it. There's bands that try, but it just, I don't know. This Queen is Queen. Queen is their own style, like you guys said. Queen is their own style, and that's it. So to answer the eternal question, are Queen the best band ever? Well, that's subjective. You got to decide for yourself. I'd say that it is pretty much recognized that I think it's pretty well agreed on in this panel that Queen would at least be in the top 5 or maybe even the top 3 bands of all time for either one of us. Am I wrong?
I think that's accurate.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What about you, Martin? What do you think?
Well, Pete and I did an episode on Sea of Tranquility where we talked about if the world ended January 1st, 1980, what is the greatest band of all time, right? And when you look at it that way, I mean, I've always said that the greatest band of all time for a certain time were Queen and Judas Priest in the 70s. But when we did that episode, you got to put Rush in there. You got to put Black Sabbath in there. Yeah. Not too many others. And that's in most characteristics or ways of looking at it, that's objectively speaking. And then there's subjectively speaking, where you start moving from the world of realism over into abstract art, and then everything's arguable about how great U2 and Pearl Jam is, and Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan, and because now you're into a world of abstract art where Bob Dylan is not writing Bohemian Rhapsody, right? He's but maybe his lyrics are better, right? But his singing definitely better, and there's no music, right? So the point is you got to look at this objective versus subjective thing, which is a whole, rat's nest there. But I've always said, and so Queen, it has this problem. So it's a really interesting question, but I think Queen has this problem, just like Priest has this problem. They become mortals after 1980. They become pretty ordinary. But that run, I can't think of a better run. And again, when people say, oh yeah, Martin, but Priest and Queen in the 70s, put it up against Rolling Stones from here to here, or the Beatles, right? Or whatever, right? So it's like, and then that's the other thing that comes into it is, it's like sports records. You're great in 1980, and then someone breaks the record and someone's better, and someone's even better at doing what you did 20 years ago with all the new technology and having known everything that's gone on in rock history and putting that into their brains. And here's the version. So, Jimmy Page is not the greatest guitarist of all time, right? But for a time, he was one of the tops, right? And he was the most interesting and all that stuff. But, 7-year-old Japanese girls on YouTube are all better than him, right? So it's really hard to say. But so all I can say in summary is that I always say, and I'll argue to the death, that Queen in the 70s and Priest in the 70s are pretty much tied for the greatest band of all time. That's a great point. Yeah. And wow. Yeah. I don't have an answer. I mean, I'd say Genesis overall are probably my favorite band of all time, but Queen is right up there. Beatles is right up there. Iron Maiden's right up there. Metallica's right up there. All these bands. So the big question remains subjective. If you watch this for an answer, you just found out that we all just love Queen. And the answer is within each one of us.
Yeah.
So
Queen forever.
There's that famous quote from was it Jack Holzman who was the head of Elektra, and the first time he saw Queen live, he called up to somebody at the label and said, "Oh my God, I've seen one of the best bands I've ever seen," and he was like, "We got to sign this band immediately." So I mean, this is a guy who'd seen a ton of music. So
absolutely. Well, folks, I want to say a big thank you. Oh, Matt, you got something to
I just have one thing I want to add to the conversation before we adjourn. One of the things I like to use as a yardstick, as far as the greatness of a band, is how often anyone can successfully copy them or show their influence. It's very, you don't hear too many bands doing that with Queen. And I mean, I understand why, because it's such their music was so, in a way, panoramic. But I want to show you a picture of an album that almost does it in places. And maybe some of you guys know this record. This is a record from 1993. It's by a little band called Jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
Oh, yeah.
Their
Spilt
second
Milk.
called Spilt Milk. I mean, they only ever did 2 albums, okay? And this album is this weird mixture of like the Beatles and Queen and 10cc and God knows what else. But there are moments where you're just like, oh, I didn't know where they nicked that from.
Yeah, that album is as an unqualified masterpiece.
Brilliant record.
Absolutely.
Extremely Queen
guys.
influenced. Yeah, for sure.
So
I want to
He's
say a big thank you to Uncle Steve. I want to say a big thank you to Scott Davis from Myth of Logic. I wanted to say a big thank you to Matt Brown and Tom Curlis from Curlis Mania, and of course, wonderful Martin Popoff. Thank you guys so much for being here. And thanks to all of you guys who viewed this, live and after the fact. Much love to all of you guys. If you liked what you saw here and aren't subscribed already, you better subscribe, because we're here every Saturday doing this, and cool content coming all the time. I'm going to a concert tonight. I'm going to Toronto, where Martin is right now. I'm going to see Mr. Big at the Meridian Hall.
Yeah, baby.
It's going to be fun. So, Martin, I have to ask, how's the traffic on the Gardner?
It'll be terrible. Don't worry about that. You can trust. You can trust that it's going to take you hours to get here.
Okay.
Even though it's a Saturday, no matter when you're coming here, Sunday, whatever. I was just talking to a buddy who's going to be on tour with a band and showing up in Hamilton, and he says, "Oh, how close is Hamilton?" And I said to him, well, when we were all stupid and going to college and we would drive super fast back in the 80s, the goal was, can you do Hamilton in 45 minutes? And then it becomes like, for years and years, it's an hour. And then it's like at any time of the day, it could take you 2 hours. Right. So Toronto has some of the worst traffic in the entire world by some measures these days, they say.
Well, I've heard it's worse now, and I asked specifically because I heard that there's some really bad construction going on that highway now, and they shortened it down to 2 lanes or something.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, hey, you know what? Mr. Big is playing all of Lean Into It cover to cover tonight, so I don't care how long it takes. I'm probably going to have to leave now. Well, hey, big thanks to all of you guys for coming on the panel today, and of course, you guys are welcome back anytime. Martin, of course, you've been here quite a few times now. Thank you for coming on and being part of the whole thing. It's great to have you. Tom, this is your first time on the panel, and thanks so much for coming on. Steve, of course. Steve, Matt, and Scott are veterans of the channel. They're here very regularly, but I'm very grateful to them too, because it's always so great to have all of you guys here. And of course, I know Lauren Murphy is not here as well right now, but he's usually here a lot, and it's super great to have him as well. It's great to have you guys watching this. Much love, big appreciation. Thanks. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you
Bye.
later. Bye now.
Take care now. All right.
What fun.